Imagine standing at the foot of a mountain in southern China. The air is cool and heavy with fog. You hear water rushing somewhere below, and when you look up, you freeze. Hundreds of feet above you, dark wooden boxes cling to the cliffs, perched on thin beams that jut from the stone like ribs. They've been hanging there for centuries, untouched and unmoving, as if time itself forgot them. You can't help but wonder, why would anyone place the dead so high above the earth? Who were these people brave enough to climb sheer rock faces just to bury their loved ones? And how did they even pull it off without machines or iron tools? Welcome to NexStory, where every mystery leads to the next. Today we're heading deep into China's misty mountains to uncover the secret of the Hanging Coffins. Let's rewind a bit. Our story takes us to the provinces of Sichuan and Yunnan, a region carved by roaring rivers and walls of stone. This land is wild and untamed, valleys so deep they never see sunlight and peaks so sharp they slice through clouds. And hidden along these cliffs are over 200 wooden coffins wedged into cracks or resting on beams hammered into the rock. Some hang just a few meters above the ground, others float nearly 400 feet in the air. Most have been there for more than 3,000 years. From far away, they look like scars on the mountain, but up close, each coffin tells a story of pure determination. They're carved from giant logs, polished smooth with nothing but stone tools, and somehow hauled straight up the cliffs. Over time, the wood turned the color of midnight, but it still holds strong. And here's the thing, none of them were meant to touch the ground. To the people who made them, the sky wasn't just above, it was sacred. Death itself belonged there. Archaeologists connected these coffins to a lost tribe called the Bo people. Ancient Chinese records describe them as mountain dwellers who ruled parts of Yunnan and Sichuan province. They hunted, farmed, and crafted wood with unbelievable skill. But more than anything, they believed their ancestors watched from the sky. The mountains were living gods, bridges between this world and the next. The Bo built their homes on slopes, lived close to nature, and accepted that life was brief, just a journey between earth and heaven. So when one of their own died, they didn't bury them in soil, they lifted them toward the clouds. For them, letting a coffin rest on the ground would have been an insult, almost like trapping a soul that longed to rise. Everything changed in the late 1500s when the Ming Dynasty expanded west. Imperial soldiers moved into Bo territory, claiming the land and crushing resistance. The Bo fought back, but were eventually wiped out. By the end of the 16th century, their culture had disappeared, all except those coffins still hanging in silence. Generations passed. The jungle swallowed the old trails. Vines crept over the cliffs, and the locals stayed away. They said the cliffs were cursed. Some even believed that the Bo could fly, that they carried their dead on the backs of giant eagles, or that spirits helped them hang the coffins as punishment for sins. Others whispered that gold and treasure were hidden inside, guarded by angry ghosts who brought ruin upon all those who sought to climb. When modern archaeologists finally began studying the sites in the 1980s, what they found was incredible. The cliffs weren't random at all. Each had small man-made holes carved into them, perfectly aligned. Inside those holes, they found traces of bamboo. That was the clue. The Bo had used bamboo scaffolding, temporary ladders and platforms that clung to the cliffs like spiderwebs. From there, they hauled the coffins up using thick ropes made from bark and plant fiber. Still, people wondered if that method really worked. So in 2003, researchers from the China Exploration and Research Society decided to test it. They built a full-size replica coffin using only stone tools and wooden axes, just like the Bo would have done. Then, with bamboo scaffolds and hand-woven ropes, a team of 12 men spent 3 days pulling the heavy log coffin up a cliff in Yunnan. It was exhausting, terrifying, and dangerous, but they did it. And in that moment, the mystery felt a little more human. No magic, no wings, just wood, rope, and the will to do something extraordinary for the ones they loved had made this ascent real. When experts opened some of the real coffins, they discovered something even stranger. Inside weren't single skeletons, but the bones of 2 or 3 people mixed with bits of cloth and soil. At first, scientists thought rainwater had washed the dirt in. Later testing showed the soil came from graves. That meant the Bo tribe buried their dead once on land, waited for the bodies to decay, and then collected the clean bones to be sealed in the cliff coffins. It was a second burial, a way to lift the spirit from the earth to the heavens. The craftsmanship stunned everyone. Most coffins were made from nanmu wood, a prized tree known for its resistance to rot. Even after thousands of years of wind and rain, many still look solid. Some carry faint traces of red paint, a color that meant life, protection, and rebirth. A few even have simple carvings, waves, clouds, maybe symbols of the soul's journey. Alongside the remains, archaeologists found bronze ornaments, pieces of pottery, and fragments of woven silk. Those discoveries changed how people saw the ball. They weren't primitive villagers, they were artists. Their fabrics showed complex patterns, still woven by mountain communities of China today. So maybe, just maybe, a few Bo families survived, hidden among the tribes that came after them, and their traditions quietly living on. In Gongxin County, there's one stretch of cliff where more than 100 coffins hang within just a few kilometers. Locals call it the Hanging Graveyard. Standing beneath it is like stepping into another world. The air smells like wet earth, the river roars below, and high above, those dark shapes float between stone and sky. Birds nest near them, wind whistles through the beams. Many have fallen over time, some destroyed by earthquakes, others swallowed by the forest, but dozens still cling there, refusing to fall. Now, what did it all mean? Why go through so much danger and effort just to hang coffins on cliffs? Scholars have 2 main theories. The first is spiritual. The Bo believed the higher you were placed, the closer your soul was to the heavens. Up there, among the clouds and mist, the spirits could rest peacefully, away from evil, away from decay. It wasn't just a burial, it was a kind of ascension. The second theory is a bit more practical. Southern China is a land of roaring rivers, sudden floods, and steep cliffs. Fertile ground down below is precious. Every patch of soil could mean food for the living. So by hanging their coffins high in the cliffs, the Bo weren't just being mysterious, they were being smart. The height protected their dead from floodwaters, wild beasts, and grave robbers, while keeping the farmlands below untouched and alive. But when you really think about it, maybe both theories were true. Maybe it wasn't only about safety or practicality, maybe it was about respect. They weren't just keeping the dead safe, they were keeping them sacred. And that's what makes this story so haunting. It's not just about engineering or craftsmanship, it's about faith. Faith so strong that people risk their lives for it. You can almost picture it, the Bo families working together, singing their farewell songs as the coffin slowly rises into the mist. Each pull of the rope, each creak of bamboo, carrying not just a body but a soul. The symbolism of the mountains runs deep in Chinese culture. They've always been seen as sacred, the meeting point between heaven and earth. To the Bo, the cliffs might have been like stairways for spirits halfway between 2 worlds. Placing their ancestors there could have meant keeping them close, not buried beneath their feet, but watching over them from above. Even after centuries, that belief still echoes. When you visit places like Matengba, Gongshan, or Hui Mountain, you can feel it in the air. Locals tell stories of spirits that guard the cliffs, and travelers describe a strange calmness, as if the mountains themselves are alive. It's hard not to feel small standing there, tiny against the walls of stone, staring up at something built thousands of years ago by people who refused to let death drag them down. But what happened to the Bo? How could a whole civilization disappear so completely that even their name faded from memory? Some historians say that the Ming army wiped them out entirely, an act of punishment for rebellion, while others think many were absorbed into nearby tribes, changing their names, hiding their customs, and surviving in silence. Even today, in remote corners of Yunnan, villagers still perform a small sky offerings, placing ashes or mementos high on hillsides. As they say, old habits die hard, especially when they come from the heart. Modern technology has given researchers new ways to study the hanging coffins without disturbing them. Drones fly close to the cliffs, capturing high-resolution images and scanning the wood. Some coffins once thought destroyed have been found hidden deep in narrow cracks, untouched for thousands of years. Others reveal faint traces of paint or carvings, invisible from below. It's like the mountains are slowly giving back their secrets, one piece at a time. The coffins themselves tell us something profound about human nature. They're not monuments of power or wealth. There's no gold, no treasure, no grand temple. Just wood, rope, and the will to do something extraordinary for the ones they loved. It reminds us that even in ancient times, people weren't so different from us. They wanted their families to be remembered. They wanted to believe there was something waiting beyond this life. Standing at the base of those cliffs, you can almost feel that connection. The air hums softly, the wind sighs through the bamboo, and the river murmurs far below. You look up and see those dark shapes, weathered, ancient, yet still there. They seem to float between worlds, caught somewhere between life and afterlife, memory and myth. And it makes you think, maybe the bow didn't disappear completely, maybe their real legacy isn't in the coffins themselves, but in the idea they left behind, that death isn't the end, that even when our bodies are gone, our stories can still hang in the air, waiting to be remembered. Because in a way, every civilization, every family, every person builds their own hanging coffin. We all leave something behind. Words, love, art, and memories, suspended between what was and what will be. The bow just did it in the most literal and breathtaking way possible. After thousands of years, their coffins still hang there, untouched, unbroken, and unforgotten. The wood may crack, the beams may rot, but the message remains. To die is not to fall, but to rise. To climb one last mountain toward the heavens they believed in. And that's why this mystery still captures us today, because those silent coffins high on the cliffs aren't just relics of the past. They're reminders of what it means to be human, to dream beyond your limits, to challenge nature itself, and to look up even in death. Maybe that's the secret the mountains have been keeping all along, and maybe that's the real story of the Hanging Coffins of China. This is NexStory, and if this mystery fascinated you, remember, there's always another story waiting just beyond the next horizon. So hit subscribe, stay curious, and be ready. The next story is on its way.